we draped the front bodice. In this section, I will demonstrate how to mark and chew the front drape. Firstly, we use slash to mark front neck point. Then, use dot to mark front neckline. At the side neck point, mark with a cross. Then, cross mark shoulder point and the armhole. Please notice. Firstly, we find the arm plate. At the center of plate screwer, everyone can see. The horizontal line in the middle of plate screwer at the edge of arm plate is an auxiliary position for chest width. Find this position and then mark it. In addition, from this point, measure in 0.6 cm towards center front. Make a second mark. These 2 points are our reference points for drawing front armhole. Next, we will mark side seam. Cross mark the top of underarm. Cross mark the side waist. At the waist, use dot to mark the waistline. Dot, dot. Cross mark both sides of the waist dot. At last, at front waist, please use a slash to mark. Then, please check if all the areas has been marked. After marking, we can remove the front drape from the dress form for chewing. It's the front muslin we removed from dress form. We can see on the muslin the cross marks indicate the intersection of seams or dot points. Dots indicate the remainder seams. Next, I will show you the chewing process of front bodice. Firstly, draw the neckline. Normally, at the front neck point, we will drop 0.6 to 1.3 cm. From the dropped front neckline, square a short line. Then, place the French curve on the neckline. The edge of the French curve passes the side neck point, the first dot, and the 90-degree angle at the center front line. After blending the neckline, we will draw shoulder dot. Connect the dot point close to the side neck point with the bust point. If the dot vanishing point locates right on the bust point, then after we close the dot point will be sharply pointed, so we want to avoid it. Measure 2.5 centimeters from the bust point. Mark the dot vanishing point. Connect this point with another dot point at the shoulder line. So let's see, we've drawn the shoulder dot. Next, we'll draw the waist dot. This bust point green line is the center of waist dot, which means the dot cross marks at the waistline should be equally distanced from the green line. Check the distance. If it's not equal, adjust to be equal. Similarly, the vanishing point of waist dot, measure down from the bust point 2.5. Mark, it's the dot vanishing point. Connect the dot vanishing point with the dot cross marks at the waistline. So let's see, we've drawn the waist dot. Next, we'll close the shoulder dot and draw the shoulder line. When we close the shoulder dot, notice, crease the dot leg nearest the center front and bring this line to meet the dot line nearest the armhole. Pin shoulder dot by inserting the pin on the folded edge through all the layers of muslin and a right angle to the seam line. Pin the dot seam at shoulder first, then pin near the dot vanishing point. Thirdly, pin at the center of 2 pins. Then, add 1 pin on each side. Pins should be spaced equally. Notice, we insert the pin very close to the folded edge and keep the space between inserting and picking out as small as possible. Pay attention, the pin the seam should keep flat. The space between pins should be even. After close and pin the shoulder dot to the shoulder seam by connecting the side neck point and shoulder point. Next, we will close the waist dot. Similarly, crease the dot leg nearest the center front and bring this line to meet the dot line nearest the side seam. Follow the procedure with pin the shoulder dot, we pin the waist dot. Okay, next, we will draw the side seam. Choose the side seam by connecting side waist point to the top of the underarm. This line is named tight side seam. For movement, we need to add ease at the armhole. The amount of ease depends on the fashion style. If it's a bodice with satin sleeve, then we will add the ease in this way. Along the side seam, measure down from the top of the underarm 2.5 cm mark. From the load point, square out 1.3 cm. This is the new top of the underarm. Draw new side seam by connecting the new top of underarm with the side waist point. If it's a sleeveless bodice, the ease at the armhole will be half that of a bodice with satin sleeve. That is, drop the armhole 1.3 cm and measure out 0.6 cm. Next, we will choose the front armhole. Use this French curve. The front armhole will start from the shoulder point, passing midway between 2 reference points at the middle plate screw level, ending at the lowered armhole. Choose the armhole by placing the French curve so that the outer edge touches front shoulder point, midway between 2 reference points, and the new top of underarm. The waist seam will be trued after we drape back bodice and pin front and back side seam together. Let's review the chewing steps. Chew front neckline, shoulder dot, waist dot, close shoulder dot, then chew shoulder seam, side seam, armhole. We chewed all seams. Next, we'll add seam allowance. The reference for seam allowance, straight line, add 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters. Curved seams like neckline, armhole we add 1 cm to 1.5 cm. For the hem allowance, add 2 cm to 3 cm. Following the rule, we add seam allowance for the front bodice. In addition, my suggestion for beginners, you'd better choose the wider seam allowance. Notice here, please keep the original underarm hole point. So we need to add seam allowance beyond this point. Keep the original front neck point. Trim away excess muslin. While trim away excess muslin, remember to keep the underarm hole point. This is the completed front bodice. We'll place it on the dress form and check fit. Pin the muslin back to the form. Bust point, match bust point of dress form. Center line on center line. Pin front neck point. Pin bust point. 1 pin up and 1 pin down. Pin front waist point. Pin the original underarm hole point. Firstly, check if the lengthwise grain line hangs straight down, if there is no puckering on muslin, if the E is added properly. Make correction if necessary. Now, we have completed draping the front waist bodice.